Hello and welcome to Homer for Monday, October 13th, 2025. Today we will be reading from lines 329 to 341 in Book 12 of the Iliad. I hope you enjoyed these wonderful battle lines in which we hear about Menestheus. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and let's get into it. So spake he, and Glaucus turned not aside, neither disobeyed him. But the twain went straight forward, leading the great host of the Leucians. At sight of them, Menestheus, son of Peteus, shuddered, for as to his part of the wall that they came, bearing with them ruin. And he looked in fear along the wall of the Achaeans, and hoped that he might see one of the leaders who would ward off bane from his comrades. And he marked the Iontas twain, insatiate in war, standing there, and Teocher, that was newly come from his hut, close at hand. Howbeit it was no wise possible for him to shout so as to be heard on them. So great a din was there, and the noise went up to heaven of smitten shields and helms with crests of horsehair and of the gates, for all had been closed, and before them stood the foe. And this foe sought to break them by force and enter in. Wonderful. Let's do it in the Greek.
Fattuare Glaucus Petra patura pitessei Tuodittus petten kion megert no segondei Tuos deidon regas vios peteo amanastos Tuorgarde prosporgo di santa coteta perondes Paterem porgona caion et ineroito Egemon nonnos tissuerin et arrois in ammonai Est noe saion de duo polemu accorreto Est avotasta o cronteneon quisieth in ionta En utenalu posue in vosan negeronen Posos kak tu poseidon what they door on ike Malo menon sa keon de kai pokemon profaleion Kai puleion vasai garapo kalto toida katautas Justa manoi parondo bierrexantes a southing
Amazing. Yeah, what are we to do with these lines here? It's a responsibility, obviously, to go to your gate, and it's interesting here that we go from this great speech from Sarpedon, right, to this comparatively weak exploration of Menestheus' character. So Menestheus is one who is steady in strength, right? But at the same time, he riges, so he's shuddering, right? He's shuddering while seeing him, which is not really a good thing to do all the time, especially because of the fact that this guy is this is an Athenian royal house hero here, right? And in other parts of the Iliad, he's similarly rebuked for being kind of a wimp, So it's interesting that he's doing the same thing here, and it comes after the Sarpedon speech, in which Sarpedon is really become very bold, So I think that apposition is first worth noting, and I think that this phrase of isan kakote taperontas, right? So they're bringing, he is shuddering because of the fact that these two are bringing, Glaucus and Sarpedon are bringing, kakoteta, right? So they're bringing ruin to the gates. This word arein is very specific in 334. Hagman hostis hoiarein hetaroisina muanai, who would help him in warding off Aren, right? That is the question. And I think it sort of echoes that wonderful line that we saw around 80 lines ago. Hey, so ionos aristos amunestai peripatres, right? There's only one omen, and that is to amunestai, to defend on behalf of one's countryland. So we have that same verb here, amunai, right? Who's going to fend off this Ares, right? And then you get to this, I think ordinarily, when you look for conjunctive aspects in warfare, it's sometimes hard to reconcile a continually flowing narrative with the fact that warfare does in fact have negative aspects to it. And a negative aspect to warfare here, strictly in the logical sense, is the fact that you can't really hear anybody because of the fact that there's like this din like going up to the sky, right? Aute duran hike, right? So tossos ktupos, such was the striking, the sounds of war, right? Aute duran hike, right? And the noise went up to heaven. I think that's a really, really great sound. That's a really great way of describing sound, right? Tossos ktupos and aute duran hike, right? It's almost as if, right? Obviously the gods sort of care about what's going on down in this battle, but the circumstances down below is that all the gates, all of the gates are closed, right? And outside the gates, right? There are people that are standing around who are, they're trying to break in by force, right? And it's interesting that the word stand is used here. They're standing around. They're not fighting around. They're not singing around, making this din. They're standing around, right? And they're peronto. Once again, we have this word to attempt with force, right, to break in and to go in, right? It's almost as if the medium, right, of the differences that happen in the human world, right, or the mortal world rather, in which you have this barrier that's getting crossed by those using force, etc., by those who are attempting, right, is put in apposition to this vertical aspect, right, which is of course the idea that all of this, right, such was, right, the din going upward, that the cry for help from even one man to another on one side is difficult to hear, but the gods are still hearing all the war-making sounds. I think that this sonic dimension is very interesting, and that's all I have for you today. I think we'll leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed the lyre performance that we were able to include. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to giving you more homework tomorrow, in which we will hear more great speeches. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.